Genesis is the point at which something begins. And unfortunately for crypto, the beginning of a new wave of disaster looms in the background. Crypto giant Genesis has been reporting liquidity issues. Now let's get into the implications of this latest financial crisis in the cryptocurrency industry. My next guest, Ram Ahluwalia, will help us understand the significance of this newest set of potential dominoes about to fall. Ram, welcome to the Daily Drop. Everything's going crazy now. Ever since I've heard about Genesis, I am freaking out, and I see that you are hiding from Barry Silbert there in the shadows. How bad is this financial situation that Genesis finds itself in?
First off, Bobby, thank you for having me. I'm sure Barry can find me if he wants. He can DM me on Twitter as well. Happy to have a conversation. So first off, to frame it up, Genesis is the largest non-bank bank in the crypto sector, meaning they are the largest provider of loans to crypto hedge funds, financial institutions, and other players in the sector. They originated 17 billion loans in Q1. They've originated tens of billions of more since their inception.
Let's just clarify. So this is the number one lender in cryptocurrency in the entire industry, in the entire world. Is that correct?
That's correct. To my knowledge, Genesis is the largest lender to crypto institutions.
Okay. And how long have they been in trouble? Because I've only started to hear, to be honest, like your thread on Twitter is like 25 tweets long, was one of the first, probably the most thorough, but one of the first sources of information that I had. Like, how long has this been going on?
So I believe the issues started when 3AC blew up. At that moment in time, Genesis Lending went instantly insolvent. Prior to then, Genesis Lending was a highly profitable business, had been growing very well. But the moment the 3AC debacle emerged, it was revealed in the bankruptcy docket online that Genesis Lending had exposure to $2.3 billion to 3R's capital. Some of that was collateralized. However, some of that was not. And it appears that there was at least a loss or impairment to the book value or equity, stockholder equity of Genesis to the tune of about $1 billion and change.
I mean, these are enormous sums of money. It's funny because I knew that this story was huge, and I was very excited that you came on, particularly because it's been kind of buried by the media. If anybody even talks about it, they don't really talk about it that long. They're not really going in depth. Where you on Twitter was very, very... What's your Twitter handle? Can you plug it for our audience?
Sure. It's at Ram Ahluwalia, my full name. So just add an H. I think it's kind of a typo there. It's at Ram, Ahluwalia.
Look, and I don't usually do that, but it's just because you really are like giving maybe the best information that I've read about Genesis. And talk about how significant this Genesis story is to the larger crypto community.
Sure. Well, it's really an analysis of the chain of contagion. So there's good news and there's bad news around this. Genesis is a systematically important institution to the crypto sector. It plays a critical role to helping large institutions access and manage risk in size. The good news is that Genesis is owned by Digital Currency Group, which is a venerable institution around the crypto industry and owns a number of valuable assets and properties, including Grayscale. Grayscale, of course, being the issuer of Grayscale Trust and other properties like CoinDesk and the Foundry. And the reason why that's good news is that Digital Currency Group can be a shock absorber and absorb some or a good deal and potentially all of the losses, from this. That's really the next phase of the analysis here. The bad news is that counterparties to Genesis and others that have exposure, will be at the risk of impairments to their own equity book value. So there'll be other players that could be challenged and, may have some insolvency issues, or at the very least, if they're a hedge fund, then may have redemptions from their LPs as a consequence.
Okay, so let's go to break. The next segment actually is going to be all about DCG because there's such a behemoth in the space, And people don't talk about them as much as I think that we should. And we are going to talk about them when we get back from the break here on the Daily Drop.